What's going on, everybody? Cowboys versus Bengals tomorrow, man. Can the Bengals come in here and beat a hot Cowboy team? Bengals, they their offense is tremendous. Like they have a great offense, but that defense, man, there's going to be some opportunities. But anyway, let's talk about it right here on Cowboy Spit.
Here we go! Yeah, here we go! Wait, take
Cowboy
Throws back of the end zone. There's
What's going on, everybody? Cowboy C3, Cowboys versus Bengals tomorrow night on Monday Night Football. 4-8 Bengals come in here, third place in the AFC North. Good football team. As you can see right there, the number 9 ranked offense, a good offensively, led by Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Good football team, really good football team offensively. Defensively, not so much. 27th in the league. Give up a lot of pass yards and rushing yards. Kind of similar to the Cowboys. You see, it's ranked 26th and 27th respectively. Cowboys defense has been playing a lot better lately. Cincinnati's not so much. Not so much. Cowboys come in with the 20th ranked offense. It's been a lot better lately. It has been, and they obviously have been watching. They had to be watching Cowboys Spit, man. I'm telling you, they've been watching. Run the ball, and they've been doing that effectively. Rico Dowdle has been, pretty good these last couple of weeks. Cincinnati, they run well, they throw well. They have pretty good offensive line play. Orlando Brown will be out, and we'll go over the injury report in just a second. They've been in a lot of close football games too, a lot of them, and they've been in some close football games with some good teams. They just can't seem to seal the deal, and it's always like Joe Burrow give them a lead, and then the defense will blow it, and that's just how they've been playing lately, which kind of bodes well for the Cowboys. Joe Burrow, NFL leading 3,337 yards passing. Averaging 7.5 yards a throw. He's thrown 30 touchdowns already, man. He's leading the league in touchdowns too, but he's only thrown 5 picks. He's been doing, if their record wasn't what it is, he would undoubtedly be in the MVP conversation. There would be no question about it. He would be in the MVP conversation. It's just they're just not a good football team, and it all starts with the defense for them. Chase Brown, their leading rusher, 152 carries, 677 yards, averaging 4.5 yards per carry. Zach Moss just went on injured reserve. He was their second leading rusher. Jamar Chase, 79 catches, 1,142 yards, and 13 touchdowns in 13 games. Yeah, he's having a hell of a season. T. Higgins, 43 catches, 558 yards. Mike Gesicki, the tight end, 39 catches. 39 catches for 436 yards, 2 touchdowns. They're okay offensively. They're okay. They're not okay. They're good offensively. They're very good. But the Cowboys will have some opportunities to kind of slow this offense down. Switching over to the Cowboys, it's been a very balanced run and pass mix that they've played with since Dak Prescott got hurt. And I feel like that they should play with that mix even if Dak Prescott is healthy. I get it. $60 million man, got to make him earn his $60 million. But don't put your team in predicaments trying to make him earn his money. You got to be able to run the football, and you got to be able to play good defense. There has been some changes to the offensive line. And we'll talk about, Zach Martin's injury in just a few minutes as well. But enter Brock Hoffman. They've been calling this dude Bully Brock for the last couple of weeks. He has played phenomenal. And the thing that you see different with the offensive line is you see pulling guards, you see pulling, the centers pulling now. There are things that they're doing now with the run game that they obviously couldn't do with Zach Martin in it because he was older. There was obviously an ankle issue because he's going to have ankle surgery and he'll be out for the rest of the season. And I kind of called that, right? I said that I didn't think that he would play anymore this season, strictly because I think he gave everything that he had. He emptied his tank, and I don't think that we will see Zach Martin not in a Cowboy uniform anymore, which is kind of tough to say because this dude is going to be a Hall of Fame lineman, just like Tyron Smith is going to be a Hall of Fame left tackle. Zach Martin will be a Hall of Fame right guard. He's tremendous. He has given the Cowboys everything he's had for these last 11, 12 seasons, and I think that Father Time just caught up with him. I think his body can't do it anymore. I think that, I think he still loves the game. He's still around, and Jerry said that in an interview that, he will continue to be around even after the surgery, kind of like Dak. And, these guys, they put their blood, sweat, and tears on the football field. And sometimes, like injuries mount up and things happen. And, the other day on the radio, they were talking about Zach Martin's PFF grade. And before 2021, like his PF grade was always in the 90s, always in the 90s for the season. And I think in 2021, it dropped down in the 80s. And then 2022, it dropped down in the 70s. And last year and this year, it's been in the 50s and in the 40s, respectively. And that just kind of tells you what you need to know. It's just, there comes a time where your body just won't allow you to do it anymore. It won't allow you to do it. And, enter Brock Hoffman has kind of changed some things on the offensive line. TJ Bass stepped in for Tyler Smith a couple of weeks ago and did a tremendous job. So he's kind of been swinging in and out of there, whenever he gets an opportunity or somebody needs a breather. Tyler Guyton is injured. So, there'll be a change at left tackle too. And we'll talk about that in just a second as well. And then right tackle Terrence Steele has been playing, he's been these last couple of weeks, he's been playing solid football. He was having a terrible season up until about 2 weeks ago. And, it's gotten to be better. It's not great, but it's not as bad as it was before. Defensively, you're starting to see this whole 2023 draft class is starting to play better football. They are. Mozzie Smith is starting to play well. Overshown was the bright spot in the 2023 draft, but he just got hurt last year. Mozzie Smith starting to play better. Schoonmaker got an opportunity. He's starting to play better. It's starting to pan itself out. On a draft class where it looked like, you didn't do well. But, given the opportunity, and Mozzie Smith has had multiple opportunities, and it seems like he's starting to take advantage of his reps, which is a good thing. You see him starting to get penetration on the defensive line, and on the offensive line. You see him changing the line of scrimmage. You see him getting in the backfield and making some plays. He got half a sack last game, which is that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. But I think his best game before last week was against the Giants as well. He played well against Washington too, though. He did. Played well. These guys are playing for next year, right? I just don't think the Cowboys are going to make a legitimate playoff run this year. I don't think they're just not in a position to do it. Even though in that far right column on the screen, it says in the hunt, right? When you look at the Cowboys and what they're doing this season. Now, if you rattle off a couple more wins and you got some tough games coming up, we'll talk about that, probably tomorrow after the game. But you got some tough games coming up. Like you got a Carolina team that, took the Eagles to the edge of defeat today. And if Xavier Legette could have just held on to a catch, and it would have been a great catch because he had to dive to get it. But it was an excellent ball placement by Bryce Young. He dove for the pass in the end zone. He rolled in the end zone, but he had his man beat. He had Darius Slay beat, and he just could not finish the catch. And that happens sometimes. But they look like a different football team. Once Andy Dalton got hurt and Bryce Young got back into the mix, they've been a different football team. So you got some tough games coming up, some games that, I guess at the beginning of the season that you thought the Cowboys might win. It ain't going to be that easy. This game is definitely not going to be easy. The Cowboys have a unique opportunity, though, especially unique for this season, to win 3 football games in a row, something that didn't look like it was even physically possible a couple weeks ago. But once you get this change, once you get this strategy change where you start running the ball and you're kind of mixing in run and the passing, and Mike McCarthy is doing a good job play calling, especially in these last 2 weeks. He's doing an excellent job of play calling. As long as they can continue to do that and try to keep this Bengals offense off the field, it might be 3 in a row. It could be. Let's get into the injury reports. Bengals Orlando Brown is going to be out. He's out. He's not going to play. Joe Burrow's on there for a right wrist injury. It's the same wrist that was bothering him last year. He's practiced all week. Everybody, Jamar Chase, Kobe Ford, T. Higgins, everybody's practiced all week. Sheldon Rankins, defensive tackle, probably one of their best defenders, has not practiced all week because of an illness. Don't really know what that illness is, but he will not be playing on tomorrow night. He can't go. So, really 2 players out tomorrow. Everybody's looking like they're looking pretty healthy. Cowboys, on the other hand, not so much. Tyler Guyton is questionable. Did not practice all week. That is kind of an indication that he's probably not going to play. And Tyler Guyton has had his ups and his downs all season. He's a rookie. And that's what I think everybody has to understand, that is not going to come in here, especially during a position change. It's not gonna be all sugar and candy and everything sweet. You know what I'm saying? Like he has done what he can do. He hasn't done bad. He hasn't done great. Been called for way too many penalties, but he hasn't played horrendously. Zach Martin, like we discussed, with the ankle and the shoulder, he's gonna have ankle surgery. He's out for the season. Wanye Thomas with the knee, he's gonna be out. He'll probably be out for the rest of the season as well. Nick Vigil and Trayvon Diggs. Trayvon Diggs is going to be a game-time decision. He's been limited all week. Nick Vigil, even the last couple of weeks with this foot injury, he hasn't been practicing, but he's been suiting up in games. So, predominantly a special team player, but if something goes wrong with Eric Kendricks, then he's the one that's got to come in. Speaking of Eric Kendricks, he's down there. He was a limited participant on Wednesday, practiced Friday and Saturday. He's going to go for the game. Diggs and Vigil, I think Diggs might give it a shot, and they could really use Diggs. If Tyler Guyton can't go, Chuma Edoga will go in and play the left tackle, and he's played pretty good these last couple of weeks. Hasn't played bad. So the Bengals, they do some things that are kind of, a little different. Their leading tackler, Garrett Pratt, has played, Their leading tackler, Jermaine Pratt, has played extremely well throughout the whole season. He's probably their bright spot on their defense. It's sort of similar to the Cowboys' struggles that what the Bengals have been having. They've got some pretty decent linebackers. Their secondary is okay. It's not terrible, but their defensive line play has been pretty bad, with the exception of Sheldon Rankins. And now that he won't be there tomorrow, you have an opportunity to do some big things, like some big things tomorrow. Their depth chart, defensively, you got Sam Hubbard is going to play the left defensive end. The defensive tackle would be Sheldon Rankins, but it's going to be McKinley Jackson tomorrow. B.J. Hill and Trey Hendrickson will play on the right side. Joe Bakke and Jermaine Pratt are your linebackers. Your strong side linebacker, Akeem Davis-Gaither, is pretty. He's fast, and he kind of plays that blitzing linebacker that'll come and put some extra pressure on the quarterback. But the thing about the Bengals is they don't get to the quarterback. They don't get there. And that will give you some opportunities to do some things. The only thing that helped us get to the playoffs is the Seattle Seahawks. Well, yeah, the Seattle did give us a little boost. Actually, Arizona went into Seattle, and they kind of dominated today. And Seattle Seahawks helped us today to have a playoff spot. No, that's not true. Well, as of right now, if you win tomorrow, if they win tomorrow, no, they won't be a wild card team. They can't be, because that would put Seattle has a better record than us. Green Bay has a better record than us, and Minnesota has a better record than us. They do. They have, so they can't be a playoff team. They can't. Those teams, the NFC North, with the exception of the Bears, like and even if the Bears, if they rattled off a couple wins, I think they might be like in the same position we are. They may have one less win than us, but the Vikings only have 2 losses. Green Bay only has 3 or 4 losses. No, there's no way they can't be a playoff team. Not yet. Back to their defense. Geno Stone and Jordan Battle are their 2 safeties. Josh Newton is a rookie corner from TCU. He plays pretty well. He's a rookie though. And he's been getting into some issues where he's been biting on pass routes. Cam Taylor-Britt, the other corner, like there's going to be some opportunities tomorrow where you can run this run-pass mix. CeeDee Lamb should have a big game tomorrow. He should have a big game. Schoonmaker or Ferguson, whoever goes. Ferguson was on the injury list. They got him listed as questionable as well. Whichever tight end goes should be okay. What are our chances of getting into the playoffs? To be honest with you, Danny, probably slim to none. Slim to none. And to be honest with you, I mean, that's kind of expected, especially the way this season has gone. It's been some bright spots, especially these last couple of weeks. But, do you really think the Cowboys are a playoff football team right now? If you put these playoff teams in the mix, because the number 1 seed you got blasted by, right? You got absolutely destroyed by them. Philly, you got beat by them. Who's leading that division in the West? Seattle now? Seattle, I don't know. They would give you a hell of a time too. And then Tampa, we'll find out about that in a couple of weeks because they got to play Tampa too. Bengals offensively, Joe Burrow and Chase Brown and Jamar Chase. Those are your guys. T. Higgins is an excellent 3rd wide receiver. Ivastis is a great slot receiver as well. Gesicki is an excellent tight end. With Orlando Brown being out, Cordell Volson will slide into the left guard spot, and Cody Ford, the starting left guard, will move up into the tackle spot. So the offensive line, it'll kind of be a makeshift offensive line tomorrow, but they'll still protect pretty well. Ted Karras will be the center, Alex Copper will be the right guard, and Amarius Mims will be your left tackle. Your right tackle. So pretty good offensive line, excellent at the skill positions. It's just the defense is their issue. So what can the Cowboys do about it? It's kind of interesting. As long as the Cowboys continue to do what they're doing, and that means running the football, Rico Dowdle as your lead back. I'm not even so sure I would mix Zeke in too much because Zeke been putting the ball on the ground. It seemed like every time there's a handoff exchange problem or Zeke has a fumble, and he continues to get these, 5, 6, 7 carries a game, which, that's kind of expected just because of the loyalty that the team, especially the front office, has with Zeke. I wish that they would give Deuce Vaughn a chance, but I just don't think so. Like you see Deuce Vaughn, you'll see him on the sideline. He's not even suited up. He's not. And I'm not so sure he'll be on the active roster tomorrow. I think your 3 running backs that they'll carry be Hunter Lemke, Zeke, and Rico Dowdle. Those will be your running backs, and they'll probably bring an extra tight end in. I wish they would give Deuce the opportunity. But in order to use Deuce, like I said before, you got to run off tackle. You got to give him the ball outside, or you got to throw him the football and let him get in some open space and do his thing. Like, you can't run him up the middle. He's just not physically built. He's not physically built to do that. He's light. He's little, small. right? But Blake Corum is not that much bigger than him, right? Blake Corum is, but Blake Corum is a Michigan product, and he's a between the tackle runner, right? That's what he does. And he's starting to emerge himself for the Rams. But another smaller guy, short guy, he may outweigh Deuce by maybe like 15, 20 pounds. It's not a lot. But the Rams know how to use him, and they use him effectively. Even at Kansas State, if you watch Deuce Vaughn play, everything was kind of off tackle, and they pull somebody, he'd have somebody lead blocking in front of him. And most of the time, that person leading for him was his right guard, and that was Cooper Beebe. So the way they're pulling Beebe now and have him lead blocking for Rico Dowdle, I think that would be beneficial with Deuce Vaughn if you just give him the opportunity. Let him play, even if you don't plan on keeping him on the roster. Give him an audition. Let him try to earn a spot on another team. There's some teams out here in the NFL that would probably like to have him, and give him the opportunity that he deserves. Jeff, what's going on, man? I was hoping you're gonna be on here Saturday, man, at 2. I'm going to that North Crowley Duncanville game. Like, I gotta go. They talking about that they think that Allen Stadium may not even be big enough for it. And Allen Stadium sits like 18,000 people. It's gonna be crazy. Like, high school football around here, around the area, is getting in that period now where you're in the state semifinals. So you go to these high school games, you're gonna see some excellent football players. You're gonna see some, future college, standouts. There's so many kids from the Metroplex right now that are playing D1 ball. They're playing for big time schools, and they're doing their damn thing, man. And it's fun to watch. South Oak Cliff plays Argyle Friday night. I think we're gonna go check that one out. I got a little cousin that plays running back for South Oak Cliff. Go check them out. And then Saturday, we'll go watch this Duncanville North Crowley game because it's like the number 1 team in the state, number 2 team in the nation in Duncanville versus like the number 5 team in the nation and number 3 team in the state here in Texas. So it's going to be, man, both of them are undefeated. Last year, Duncanville just completely handled North Crowley in the semifinals. And this year, that's a different Crowley team. That team is rough, but it'll be fun. Anyway, back to the Cowboys. Tomorrow's going to give them an opportunity to where they can keep that high-powered Bengal offense on the sideline. They're going to keep that offense on the sideline. And under normal circumstances, I would say you put the opposing team's offense, you put Cincinnati's offense into, a predicament to where they feel like they're playing some catch up, or they feel like that it's a pressure-filled situation, but not Joe Burrow. Not him. He don't like that dude. That dude he don't feel pressure. He just doesn't. And he doesn't make. Yeah, I know. Like, Coach Todd, their head coach, he was at Duncanville. He was their defensive coordinator. And he took that job at South Oak Cliff. And South Oak Cliff was not a football program then. And I think the first year he was the head coach, they went like 5-5. Or something like that. But that second year, like, that's when they went. I think they went 15-1 in one state. And then they do this crazy thing, like they've been doing it since 2022, where they play the top 3 teams in 6A football. So they're a 5A football program. They play the top 3 teams in 6A, and then that they say that prepares them for the playoffs, the first 3 games. So every year they play Duncanville, every year they play DeSoto, and then every year they play another team. Like this year they played Longview. Longview just kicked the snot out of Duncanville, like out of DeSoto, like 50-14 in the semifinals, in the state quarterfinals. The only loss that Longview has is to South Oak Cliff, a 5A football team. They played tremendous football, excellent football, super disciplined football. And this team that they played, Port Neches Grove, they played them Friday night. Port Neches Grove won the state championship last year and played South Oak Cliff, and they beat them. And it was a controversial game. There was a call at the end of the game. There was 2 calls at the end of the game. There was a pass interference where the pass was already broken up and they were celebrating, man. And then and then the referee threw the flag. And then it came to find out that the referee was from Port Neches Grove. And it It was crazy. It went into this whole thing. Well, this year was the get back, and 56-14. Like, it wasn't even close. It's not that serious. How's it going, man? I'm good, man. I'm looking forward to tomorrow, see what these Cowboys do. And then, me and Jeff were just sitting here kind of rapping about it. High school football here in the area is getting kind of crazy right now. So go watch some games next weekend, and it should be fun. But anyway, the Cowboys are going to have an opportunity tomorrow to keep this high-powered offense on the sideline. And how you do that is just run the football. And we'll get into it more with keys of the game. But if they get into a situation to where, like, the last person that you want to get in a shootout with is Joe Burrow. But I think that the only way that you can win this football game is you kind of get into a shootout. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are going to get theirs. Mike Gesicki's going to get his. Chase Brown is going to run the ball pretty effectively. As long as your defensive line just holds up and doesn't let him break big runs, I think you'll be okay. Since we're sitting here talking about it, we might as well go to the Cowboy keys to victory. The first key for the Cowboys offensively is run the damn ball. Just run the football. That's all you have to do. You have been successful these last 2 weeks running the football. Continue to run the football. Your offensive line, you got some new guys in there. You got some young, hungry guys in there. Brock Hoffman is hungry. He is ready to go. That's why I put him on the thumbnail. Like, he has been playing excellent football. And it was about time that he went in. Zach Martin, excellent player. I know he's had a tremendous pass, and he'll be a Hall of Famer. I truly believe that Zach Martin will be a Hall of Famer. However, man, it was time. It was time. Brock Hoffman comes in, and all of a sudden you can run the football. Things are different, and that kind of lets you know where the weak link is. Terrence Steele is playing better. That kind of lets you know where the problem was, right? And no slight to Zach Martin. I think he's an excellent player. I think, one of the best Cowboy offensive line of all time. And with those old offensive lines, that's saying a lot, right? You could go either way. Would you pick Nate Newton or would you pick Zach Martin in their prime? That's a tough choice. That is a tough choice. And we all know how great Nate Newton was. Zach Martin was just that great. He's just not that great anymore. He's not. So you found this resurgence in your running game. Continue to use it. That's your first key to victory. Your second key to victory, and I think that this problem, and this is so bad to say, but I think that this problem will be solved if Tyler Guyton doesn't play, is stop the pre-snap penalties. Stop them. The false starts, the illegal formations, all the stuff that the Cowboys are known to have, especially early in the season. The holding penalties, that's post-snap, but holding penalties. Tyler Guyton has had a rough go at it. He's been good at times, but he's been really bad. He's been penalty prone at times. And with Agoba at left tackle, I think that kind of solves that issue, right? And Agoba's playing a good left tackle. He's playing with a mean streak, and that's fine. Stop the pre-snap penalties. And number 3, Cooper Rush is going to have to find these wide receivers and not just CeeDee Lamb. Brandon Cooks is back. Find him. Just find him. He found him on Thanksgiving for a touchdown. I know it felt good to him. I know it felt good for Cooks to come back. Find him. Find Jalen Tolbert. Find your tight ends. Just find them. And it doesn't have to be, 25, 30 yards down the field. Just find them. Give them some open space and let them do it. And then go back to running the football. Defensively, the only way that you are going to slow down this offense, this high-powered Bengals offense, is you are going to have to put pressure on Joe Burrow. You are going to have to make him uncomfortable. He's not going to make very many mistakes. Joe don't turn the ball over. 30 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He doesn't turn the ball over. Make him throw some passes away, right? Make him try to throw into, like some double coverages or anything, right? Jamar Chase, these Cowboy corners, no matter who it is, they're going to have their hands full with Jamar Chase. Gonna be full. Diggs, if he plays, he got a bum knee. whoever, in both of the receivers, T. Higgins too, you're going to have your hands full with these receivers. You're going to have to pressure Joe Burrow. You have to. Number two, your second key to victory is these defensive tackles. These defensive tackles are going to have to they have to change the line of scrimmage. They have to put these guards that the Bengal guards, they're going to have to put them in reverse. Put them in the backfield. Make Brown alter his course and run into these linebackers. Make him do it. And number three, the safeties are going to have to play better. Malik Hooker cannot be standing back there looking like he's just lost in space, right? He has a tendency, especially this season. I don't really know what's going on with that, but you can't get lost in space in this game. Gesicki is going to be patrolling in the middle. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase will do anything you ask him to do. He'll go across the middle. He'll go deep. He'll turn a 5-yard curl into a 68-yard touchdown. Your safeties have to play well. They're going to have to come up and make tackles. Jar the ball loose from these receivers. Put some hits on them. Hit them. You know what I'm saying? Hit them. Gesicki going down the seam. Put your shoulder on him. Don't put your helmet on him because that's a penalty. Put your shoulder on him. Jar the ball loose. That's how you win this football game. You're going to have to be physical with Cincinnati because they're kind of a finesse football team and they high-powered, especially if Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase get hot. And you have to, if you pressure Joe Burrow and try to keep all of this in front of you, and these safeties play well, these corners are going to have their hands full. They are. They're going to have safety help. And you cannot be standing around looking like you're lost. You can't do it. If you do that, we're not going to win this game. It's not going to happen. So my prediction with all this, we take all this and put it into a little ball, and we'll make a prediction. And my prediction is 35-30 Cowboys. I think we pull it off. It could be 35-30 Cincinnati, though, but I'm going 35-30 Cowboys. I got faith in the team. I think that they've learned their lesson. I think they'll run the football, keep this offense on the sideline, and keep their points to a minimum. 30 points is a lot of points, but this team can put up 50 at any given time, right? And it's something about the end of football games that when Joe Burrow will give them the lead and that defense will blow it. Make them blow it tomorrow night. Make them blow it. All right. Make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe button as well. I appreciate everybody on here. It's been a good football weekend, even though, the two Texas schools both lost, but they both got into the playoffs. Texas got Clemson at home. SMU's got to go to Penn State. That's going to be a rough game. That's going to be a real rough game. But I think, Texas will have a good one. 35-34 Cincinnati. I can see it. Jeff, no doubt this year, for real. And I know you're talking about the high school game. It's going to be that's going to be a hell of a football game, and I can't wait to see it. North Crowley, Duncanville. Yes, sir. You be easy too. Okay, tomorrow, what we'll do is we'll go live right after the game. We'll have a post-game reaction, and we should have some good things to talk about. I hope so. Listen, I watched the whole game, and I completely understand how you would say that. However, there were two keys to that football game that Texas should have won, and I give both of them to you. One, in that last drive, Quinn Ewers has to complete passes. He has to. Sure, you're going to be under pressure. Georgia's blitzing the hell out of you, and I understand that, right? And I get it because they know that Quinn Ewers hasn't performed well under pressure, especially against them. He didn't perform well when they were in Austin. And yesterday in the second half, in the first half, I could tell that the game was going to be kind of shaky when the score was 6-3 at the half. And you had opportunities, and your kicker's missing field goals too. That's not a good thing. Because if your kicker hits both of those field goals, we're not even having that conversation today. Texas is the number 2 ranked team, and they get a bye in the first round. And you got to play a Clemson team that barely beat SMU. But not putting anything on SMU. SMU is a tremendous football team. And SMU, the lights were too big for them at the beginning of the game. And they gave up too many points at the beginning. But once they settled in and got to playing football, SMU whooped that ass. But again, another special teams miscue at the end of the game, costing the football game. Gave up a big kickoff return. What are Cowboys' chances of getting the playoffs? If you want me to give you a percentage, Danny, 10%. 10% they get into the playoffs. But seeing worse, Cowboys are going to have to win out if they want an opportunity to get into the playoffs. And they're going to have to beat some really good football teams in order to win, in order to get into the playoffs. They're going to have to beat playoff teams getting the playoffs. The worst team that you're going to play record-wise is probably Carolina, and Carolina just took Philly to the bitter end today. Bitter end. You got this Cincinnati team that's tough. You got Tampa, you got Carolina, you got Washington, and you got Philly again. It's not going to be easy. 10%, if that. And really, only thing winning these football games here lately, the only thing that it's doing is dropping you lower and lower in the draft. Which, we'll talk about the draft, probably more after the season. But I got an idea on how you could fix this football team. There's a kid from Frisco, Texas, that could help you out tremendously. Don't know if you want to take him in the first round, but if he's sitting there, I would take him. I would. Yeah. The rest of this schedule is these teams are starting to surge. Cincinnati, the offense has surged all season. They just play bad defense. Carolina, since Bryce Young got benched, Andy Dalton came in, and Andy Dalton got injured, right? Bryce Young, when he got his second chance, he has made the absolute most of it. Tampa is a good football team. They run the ball extremely well, very well, and they play good defense. And Baker Mayfield is playing out of his mind. And then Philly, we all know what Philly's doing. They just winning. As painful as it is to say, they're winning. Yeah, whatever. And, Washington, it looks like at the end, they're going to be fighting for their playoff life. They're going to be fighting for it. So it won't be one of them games where they sit in their starters. They're going to come in here. Well, actually, yeah, they're going to come in here on the last game of the season, and they're going to try to tear us up. Plus, they feel like they owe us one anyway. So, yeah, schedule brutal as hell. But, that's the NFL and the Cowboys. If they keep up with this formula that they're playing with right now, they'll be all right. They'll be competitive at least. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, tomorrow, right after the game, we'll go live. We'll talk about this Cowboy win. I'm calling it now, speaking into existence. And then, you've got this 10-day break. You've had plenty of time to prepare for this game. You know exactly what Joe Burrow's going to do. You know the Cincinnati defense. You know the holes in it. You know how to exploit it. You've had 10 days to prepare for it. Actually, you've had 11 days to prepare for it. Let's just go get a win. If you're not going to tank, shit, go win. Go win them. Go win them all. And let's just see what happens. And maybe that 10%, Danny, maybe it'll go up to 40%. We'll just see what happens. Okay, tomorrow, right after the game, we'll be right here and we'll talk about it. Everybody, go watch this Sunday night game. Should be all right. Not a bad game. Not a great one. But, this Buffalo LA Rams game before that was a great football game. That was a high-scoring football game. Kind of surprising how high-scoring it was. But Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Puka Nacua, they going off. All right, y'all. We will see y'all tomorrow right after the game. We'll talk about this Cowboy win and how great that they played. All right, y'all. See y'all tomorrow. Peace.